really more so because he's talking a lot about, okay.
He said, he's, at the beginning of the book, what does he say? He says, many are taking it up to write an account in these days. But I, myself, went to eyewitnesses to do my research, right? So he took his gospel, he wrote his gospel from the mouth of eyewitnesses. Yeah, Mark. That Mark was not a disciple of Jesus in the gospel. He's a student, again, he was with Paul, he was with Barnabas, and so on and so on.
Well, that's what I was looking to say, like,
Yeah.
it's not so much of who wrote it, but it's who they got the information.
Yes, but it had to be an eyewitness.
Right.
Yeah. So, but early church, I gotta run with this because I gotta go with my other stuff. Early church tradition, including testimonies from first century church fathers, meaning 100 years after Jesus died, 130 years after Jesus died. You have Justin Martyr, you have Eusebius, you have Irenaeus. They all supported and said, John, the disciple whom Jesus loved, is the one who wrote Revelation, right? But there's another thing that I know you said last week. I don't have it written here, but the way he just said, I, John, without putting a reference or prefacing or somewhere, it tells you that John was well known to everybody, that he didn't have to do that, right? If I say I, James, and we're at House of Bread, most people will know who James is, right? So I didn't have to say James Destiny to put my last name on it for people to know
or even James, the head pastor. Sometimes it was given their title, not just
Exactly. So we can assume with a great certainty that it would most likely be John. Again, the intended audience of Revelation comprised of the 7 churches in Asia Minor, as explicitly stated in Revelation chapter 1, verse 9. So these churches received the book as a message specifically tailored for their circumstances. They were going through. They were suffering. They were being killed. They were forced and refused to worship the emperor. Okay, so that was another reason, right? So it was tailored for their circumstances, serving as both, the book is serving as both encouragement and warning to them. The date, most scholars debate, falls into 2 dates. It's either the mid-60s or the mid-90s. Because if we're talking about it was a time of great persecution, we said there were 2 great persecutions in the 1st century. It's either under Nero, right, who lived in the 60s, or Domitian, who reigned in the 90s. But what most scholars says, they say they would rather take the mid-90s, so around 95, for many reasons. Jerusalem, the temple was, Rome had destroyed the temple in the 70s. Right? Rome had destroyed the temple in the 70s. And it was by Domitian, right? That's what he did. And also, he wanted people to worship him as emperor. And thirdly, Nero's persecution was very narrow. But Domitian persecution was wherever you can find a Christian, right? All over the Roman provinces. So that's why most scholars believe that the book was written somewhere around the 90s. What's the setting? John received the revelation. while he was in exile on the island of Patmos, a place of banishment. And the circumstances underscore the challenging environment in which Revelation was written. So now what's the purpose of the book? The book of Revelation served multiple purposes. It was written to encourage believers facing persecution, right? To warn them against compromising in apostasy, to instill hope in the times of Jesus Christ, and to provide spiritual guidance. They were facing persecution. So God gave John this revelation to say to them, I know you're suffering, but guess what? It's going to get worse. I know you're suffering. It's going to get worse. But don't give up. Don't fall into apostasy. Right? Apostasy? It's what you said? Yeah. It's when you're falling away from your faith.
Okay.
Yeah. It's when you're falling away from your faith. Right? Don't give up. Don't fall away from the faith. Because Jesus has already conquered. Even to death. Don't fall away. Because at the end, you will be more than conqueror.
Yeah.
Right? So don't fall away. So that's the message of the book. If anybody asks you what's the purpose of the book of Revelation, the book of Revelation is not to show you a bunch of symbols and pictures and talk about the end of times. That's not the main purpose of the book. The main purpose of the book is, I know you're suffering. And guess what? It will get worse. Hold on. Don't give up. Because Jesus has already conquered the world. And if you remain faithful, you will reign with him in heaven, right? So that is the main purpose of the book of Revelation. The major theme, Revelation addresses eschatological themes, divine judgment, because Jesus, the Bible shows, the Revelation shows how God is going to judge the world. It has spiritual warfare, good against evil, fighting.
Can I just interrupt for 1 second?
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows, because I had to look this up, eschatological means end times.
Yeah.
The end times.
Yeah, end time. Yeah.
Eschatological.
Eschatological. Yeah. Okay, it means the end times. Divine judgment, spiritual warfare, victory in Christ. You will see that in the book. You'll see worship too. You see the four living creatures always worshiping God. It offers hope amidst adversity and pointing to the fulfillment of God's promise. Are we good so far?
Yeah.
Good? Genre. The book of Revelation is an apocalyptic book, right? However, I add those here because as I read the book and as I listened, as I'm doing my research, the first 3 chapters are very epistolary. Epistle means letter. It's a letter you're writing, right? Because you see he's addressing the letter to the 7 churches, right? So from chapter 1 to chapter 3, there's nothing apocalyptic or prophetic about the book. Well, you could say there's a little prophecy in it,
Yes.
because this is what's going to happen to you, right? If you don't, telling of the future, right? But more so an epistle. But once you get to chapter 4 to chapter 22, you'll find some prophecy. A lot of prophecy in there. But more so, a lot of apocalyptic things are going on there, right? And each contributing to its multifaceted nature. Again, so again, the genre of the book It's epistolary, it's prophetic, it's also apocalyptic, right? The outline of the book. In Revelation chapter 1, verse 1 to 8, you'll see a prologue, right? That's the beginning, an introduction. The second thing you see is the message to the seven churches. Chapter 1, 9 to chapter 3, 22. And then in chapter 4, you see the seven seals. You'll see the seven trumpets. You'll see the dragon and the two beasts. You'll see the seven bowls. You'll see the final victory in the last judgment in chapter 19. And then in 21 to 22, you will see the heavenly Jerusalem, the new Jerusalem, right? In the new heaven, in the new earth. All right? Does anyone needs to copy this? Oh, you're good.
We emailed all the notes, didn't we, last time?
Okay, that's good. Revelation is usually easy to most readers until they get to chapter 1, verse 4 to 1. No one here can tell me you read Revelation chapter 1 to chapter 3 to say, oh, I didn't understand it. It's letters being written to churches and telling them, this is what you're doing wrong, this is what you're doing right, get in shape, right? Or else, this is what's going to happen, right? So no one finds that, again, no one find any epistolary genre hard, right? No one really finds didaches, like educational books, kind of hard, like the books of Romans. You might find it, some things you don't understand, but you can read through it, right? Ephesians, you can read through Ephesians, Galatians. Those books you can read through, right? But when you get to Hebrews, or you get to Zechariah or Ezekiel, right? Those books, Zechariah, Ezekiel, Daniel, those are apocalyptic books. And sometimes you don't know what in the world they're talking about, right? So, but no one reads Revelation and says, ooh, the first 3 chapters were hard. It's when you get to chapter 4 at verse 1. Right? Your understanding of Revelation after Revelation chapter 4 verse 1 will be largely determined by how you interpret these key things. So this is what I'm making this up, okay? But when I say I'm making this up, it's now because of my research. I feel that this is the best way to teach it, to make you see it that way, so that when we get into the nitty-gritty of things, you kind of get what you're saying. I like to set the parameters before we continue, right? So your understanding of Revelation after Revelation chapter 4 verse 1 will be largely determined by how you interpret these key things. The pictures, or we can say the symbols that you see. How do you interpret them, right? Do you take them literally or symbolically, or the symbol of real things or fake things? So you gotta make those decisions, right? Another thing, after this, the word after this, in Revelation chapter 4 verse 1, it's other places too, but that's where it starts. What does after this mean? Does it mean a minute later? Does it mean a day later?
Sometime later.
Does it mean sometime later or 2,000 years later? Right? And that's where you start thinking about which approach that I should take. Another part of the book, and I think that's the largest part of the book, is the 3 sevens. The 3 sevens, meaning the 7 seals, the 7 trumpets, and the 7 bowls. Yes.
So, just talking about that, when you were making reference to chapter 1, like the epistolary part of it, I mean, that part, if I hadn't covered Revelation like several times with my old church, I would have never known who is the seven lampstand, or like, if I was just someone that didn't go through the class before
Yeah.
several times, I wouldn't know what.
Well, you would if you read it. Because that's one of the symbols that the angel says, this is what it is.
It actually says it, that's one of the ones that tells you.
There are some of the symbols that that he will say, this is what it is, right? And there are some of the symbols that he does not say. However, the people of the time then go like, oh, we don't understand what he's talking about.
Yeah.
A lot of the symbols are being taken from the Old Testament,
Yeah.
from the book of Daniel, from the book of Ezekiel, right?
Familiar.
A lot of it is because we don't know our word. When I say we, I put myself in it as well, right? Don't know our word enough, to make those distinctions. Because once we get, again, I understand that as well, that a lot of us are afraid of the apocalyptic books. Or we don't like to read them. I don't like anything that sounds a little bit science fiction. Right? Even when it comes to the Bible. Right? I'm like, I'm not going to read that. I don't have time for that. Right? And that's just my nature. But I got to force myself to read it. The last one is the purpose of the book, as we talk about. And I'm not putting them in chronological order. I'm just saying those 4 things, you have to focus on them if you're going to make headways in the book of Revelation. Right? The pictures, the symbols. The word after this. Right? You have to figure out what you're going to do with that. The 3 sevens and the purpose of the book. So those 4 things so far, that's how I see that we should take a look at it. Let's talk about the pictures or the symbols in the book of Revelation. The question is, should we take them literally or should we take them symbolically? Right? Should we take some of the things that we see literally, you have a question? Or should we take them symbolically? Time after time, John interprets the symbols for us. And when he interprets the symbols, it is clear what he wants us to understand them to be. And not as they are. Right? Example, the one Colin was just talking about. Revelation chapter 1, verse 12 to 20. Mr. Brogan, you could read for me.
I turned around to see the voice that was speaking to me. And when I turned around, I saw 7 golden lampstands. And among the lampstands was someone like a son of man, dressed in a robe, reaching down to his feet, and with a golden sash around his chest. The hair on his head was white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were like blazing fire. His feet were like bronze glowing in a furnace, and his voice was like the sound of rushing waters. In his right hand he held 7 stars, and coming out, his mouth was a sharp, double-edged sword. His face was like the sun shining in all its brilliance. When I saw him, I fell at his feet, as though dead. Then he placed his right hand on me and said, "Do not be afraid. I am the first and last. I am the living one. I was dead, and now look, I am alive forever and ever. And I hold the keys of death and Hades. Write therefore that you have seen what is now and what will take place later." The mystery of the 7 stars.
So now he's telling them what he told him from verse 12, right? Verse 12 and 13. He's going to tell him what the 7 stars are, right? Go ahead.
The mystery of the 7 stars that you saw in my right hand, and of the 7 golden lampstands is this. The 7 stars are the angels of the 7 churches, and the 7 lampstands are the 7 churches.
So, had he not explained that to us, today probably would be clueless. What is the 7 stars? What are the 7 stars? And what are the 7 lampstands? Right? But yet he's talking about the angels of the church, which theologians let us know those are the pastors of the church, right? the angels of the church. And then the 7 lampstands, or the 7 churches. Right? So right there, the angel explained what the symbol is. So when you say that, let's say the angel did not say that, then you say, well, I take Revelation literally. Right? So you can't always take things you see in Revelation literally. And I'm going to show you one verse. I don't want to take a lot of verses as we start because we're going to go through the book. Right? Revelation chapter 9, verse 1 to 2. Watch this. The 5th angel, and if you're not paying attention, sometimes you might miss it. The 5th angel sounded his trumpet, and I saw a star that had fallen from the sky to the earth. The star was giving the key to the shaft of the abyss. A star is giving the key to the abyss, right? When what?
He opened. So the star is a person.
When he opened the abyss. So if you say you take it at face value, literally, then you're missing out. You're missing out a lot. Because there, he's saying a star, but it's not literally a star. Right? He opened the abyss, smoke rose from it like the smoke from a gigantic furnace. The sun and sky were darkened by the smoke from the abyss. Right?
And earlier we just also saw that Jesus was given the key to the abyss.
Yeah.
So it's just reiterating something it already said.
There's a lot that people go through. You guys are my guinea pig in the book of Revelation. This is the first time I'm teaching it. I'm learning, and what I'm learning, I'm trying to pass down to you. I'm sure the next time I teach it, I'll do 100% better, right? But yeah, and as I go through it more, we'll discover some other things, right? There are quite a few, but this is what we have to understand. Once you learn how to study one book properly, you can learn how to study other books properly. Remember what we did at the church a long time ago?
Mm-hmm.
How to study the Bible?
Mm-hmm.
I still use the same techniques.
Right.
Nothing more. Right? So there are quite a few other times where John interprets the symbols. So we are on pretty safe ground when we see a picture in Revelation to assume that God and John intended for us to understand them symbolically, not literally. Okay? But you must see them as symbols of real things. Because the lampstand is the church.
A real thing, right?
A real thing.
The stars are
The
real.
stars are the angels of the church. That's a symbol of a real thing. Right? You cannot say, oh, it's a symbol, but not a symbol of a real thing. It's a symbol of a real thing. Right? For instance, the falling stars. Right? You gotta think about what are the stars that are falling, right? The lamb's 7 horns in his head. Right? The 4 beings that fly around the throne with eyes all around. What is he trying to say to us? Crying, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty. The sword coming out of the mouth of Jesus slaying the nations at the end. Will Jesus have a literal sword and is coming out of his mouth slaying the nations? Those are all the questions you need to address, right? Should we take them symbolically and not literally as we suppose, right? So far this is some of the things that I've gotten in my research. The falling stars may not be falling stars literally, but they're talking about something significant is happening, right? Something significant is happening. It could be, but you have to do the homework to find out, is it or is it not, right? The lamb 7 horns, right? What does horn represent? Power. Power, right? Horns represent power. Any animal that has horn, you try not to go too close, right? They represent power, and every animal that has horns have power, right? And since and then again, there are 7 horns. Not only is telling me that it has power, 7 is the number of completion or perfection, right? So it's telling me that the lamb has what?
Perfect.
Perfect power or all power, right? So that's the symbol. It's a symbol of real thing, and we know Jesus is what? He's all powerful, right? He's omnipotent. The 4 beings that fly around the throne with eyes all around crying, holy, holy. Eyes are symbols of knowledge. Knowledge. They are full of knowledge, right? Those are symbols, but symbols of real thing. I've ordered 2 books that a lot of people are raving about. William Mount's father, who used to be my teacher at Gordon, his father wrote a book on Revelation. I heard it's one of the best, and it's not big. So that sounds good to me. Right? And Bruce Metzger, whom I think is the best. You asking for the name?
No,
Oh, okay. Did you ask for the name?
no.
Oh, okay.
I didn't hear what you said when you said it's not.
Oh, it's not. Yeah, it's not a big book. It's a small book. Yeah, and then Bruce Metzger, whom I believe is the greatest New Testament theologian that probably ever existed. He died a little while ago. But I heard he write one as well. So I ordered them. They should come tomorrow. So I can't wait to start reading them to get more, so I can teach. Right? The sword coming out of the mouth of Jesus, slaying the nation at the end, can truly symbolize a victorious conqueror, right? A victorious conqueror, right? Because sword means that I'm slashing you in 2, right? I'm conquering you. I'm taking over, right? So they are to be taken symbolically, but symbols of what? Real things, right? Okay. The image, not just the imagery we should take symbolically. We should take the numbers, a lot of the numbers symbolically as well, right? It's not just the images. The numbers should be taken symbolically. Because the number 7 is used 54 times in Revelation. And we know that's the number of completion, perfection. The number 12 is used in Revelation. I think number 12, don't quote me on this, means organization. More so organization. We have number 4 that is used 16 times. Number is 144,000. Right? That was sealed. Now, for those people who take that number literally and said, Jehovah's Witnesses used to say, only 144,000 people will make it to heaven. And it's only going to be Jehovah's Witnesses. But guess what happened to them?
They surpassed 140.
And they had to change their mind when their number passed 144,000.
Because how can you recruit?
Yeah, they kept trying to recruit people. It's like, well, that's
But you're full.
Once they pass 144,000, they stopped teaching that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I was just gonna ask how, if they exceed 144,000, what happens?
What happened?
I would, like, before you said,
Did they change
that they
their
changed
mind?
their mind, I was like, how are they gonna continue to say that there's 144,000 if there's more?
Yeah.
They can't.
Yeah. The 666. In fact, in the book, it tells you what it is. What is 666?
Mark of the beast.
Huh?
Number of a man.
The number of a man. That's what the book says.
Oh, I thought it was. the-
No, it represents a man. All right? So it's not a literal 66, but the book says it itself. The Revelation says it's the number of a man.
Huh.
Okay?
So
So, yes.
why do we take it as the devil's number then?
Well, we know it's not a good number because that person will not be on God's side.
That says of a man.
It's the number of a man. We'll delve in it more as we go into the book. I'm just trying to set the Bible study so that when we get into the Bible study, we know where we're at, we know what we're talking about, right? So what I'm saying is, we cannot take everything literally in that book. In fact, most of the time, you should think more symbolically before you take it literally. However, Jen, I hope you did this with them, because
I did.
that brought joy to my heart. Sometimes you hear people say, I take the entire book of Revelation or any book literally and not symbolically. But most people don't understand that taking something literally, what it means, right? To take something literally means that you understand it exactly how the author wanted you to understand it. Huh? Yes, you can. That's what we're doing right now. John told us what? He told us his book is an apocalyptic book. We know, so once we find out what an apocalyptic book is, we know how he wants us to take every word he says. Right? Right? To take something literally means you understand it exactly how the author wanted you to understand it. So John, from the beginning of the book, told us it is what? Apocalyptic literature, meaning it should be understood symbolically. So if the author wrote it to be understood symbolically, what's the literal way you and I should interpret it? Symbolically. You got it, right? That's what it means to take something literally. We good? All right. So this word here, so now we're talking about the second thing. The word after this. We find it in Revelation chapter 4, verse 1. Revelation chapter 4, verse 1. He says, after this I looked, and there before me was a door standing open in heaven. And the voice I had first heard speaking to me like a trumpet said, come up here, and I will show you what must take place after this. Right? Okay, before I move, let me just go back a little bit. Just go back to the symbolic. I didn't see that, I just see it now. I had first heard, where is it? In the voice I had first heard speaking to me, like what?
The trumpet.
What does a trumpet signify?
Battle?
Attention,
Announcement?
an announcement.
Not just an announcement.
Royalty?
Royalty, yeah, authority, right? But a very important message from the king, or for someone important. Because when they sound the trumpet, what does the Bible say? If no one sound the trumpet, how will we hear, right? When we get ready, right? So that's a way to get everybody's attention, is to sound the trumpet back in that day. So whenever you hear a trumpet sound, that means there's an important message that is going to be given, and everybody must pay attention. Right? So even with that symbol, you can gain something from it. There's something significant that's about to be said to John. Right? But after this, what does after this mean? Does it mean immediately? A day later, 50 years later, or 200 years later. So that's where we come up with those 4 basic positions or views people take when it comes to Revelation. Okay? So there are 4 basic positions. The one we call the preterist view. Okay? And by the way, I keep it very simple. All right? I keep it very simple. Those views, I didn't want to make it too complicated because that's not what I'm looking for. I just have to teach you that. Right? The preterist view, the historical view, the futurist view, and I forgot to put the idealist view. Right? Idealist view. The preterist view, the historical view, the futurist view, and the idealist view. Whichever one of these you take will affect how you interpret Revelation. Right? The symbols will affect, if you take it literally or symbolically, it will affect how you interpret Revelation. But after this, whichever way you take it, will affect how you interpret Revelation. Right? Okay. Preterism. The word preter derived from the Latin word past. Right? That's all. It's just been past. The preterist view says all of the event after chapter 4, verse 1. Right? So they said chapter 1, verse 3 was addressed to the audience, to those 7 churches that were actual churches. But after chapter 3, after chapter 4, verse 1, to the end of the book, anything that was fulfilled by 70, because they believed that everything was by 70 AD, when the Romans destroyed the temple in Jerusalem, even including Jesus' return, has already happened, has already fulfilled. It's in the past. We Christians don't even need to think about that when we read Revelation. It's like we're reading a story of the past. It has no actual significance, really.
What is it like?
To
There's
us.
like the rapture already happened?
In fact, yeah. So, well, I have to be okay. I have to be somewhat honest. There is a full preterist, and there's partial preterists, right? Because they don't agree with the Jesus Christ came back already. But the full preterists will tell you that, oh, Jesus came back already.
And you got the
Well,
nice.
so, is this like a branch of like Christianity or is
Yeah.
it its own specific?
Branch of Christianity. Yeah. Okay. The greatest weakness. So, what do you think? Well, we just talked. What do you think the greatest weakness about this? About this people? Anything?
What do you think?
What's the
I
weakness?
think we would have heard about it.
No.
Happened, if it happened.
Big historical record is kind of missing.
Well, the Bible told us that Jesus' coming is not going to be
Yeah,
what?
a secret. We'll all
It's
know.
not going to be secret.
That's by the sound of the trumpet?
And
So-
doesn't it say that when that happens, every knee will bow and
Everyone
every
will
tongue
see.
confess?
Every eye will see.
So,
Yeah.
When Jesus comes back to rapture his church, or when Jesus comes back to earth, to rule, like the millennium way?
When Jesus comes back to rapture his church,
Right,
yes, he will be in the air.
right.
People will see him. Yes,
Who will see him?
Everyone.
everyone. It's not going to be secret. Do you have anything else to get? Let me know. I can learn.
I feel like if that happened, then every society that ever existed would write down, this guy appeared in the
Oh,
air
yeah.
and everyone saw him.
Well, even if you didn't see Jesus, what's going to happen when all these people are missing?
Right.
Well, then that's 2 different things.
Yeah?
That's 2 different things.
No, but I'm saying, I'm giving different evidence that that couldn't be, right? That couldn't be, right?
Okay.
Maybe there'd be like a significant drop in population.
There would have
Of
been
course.
No
worse.
explanation whatsoever.
And not just in one country.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Everywhere,
It's not like
right?
there's like some plague that happens, like they're literally just gone.
So what is their idea? When are they saying it happened?
Oh,
Well, if it
by the
happened-
70 AD.
If it happened in the past, then we're living in the millennial, like.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, we're living in the millennium right now. You and I, we are living in the millennium.
Okay.
And they believe that they missed the boat.
Uh,
Not for much
well,
longer.
they are in the millennium, so maybe they haven't missed the book.
And wouldn't all the dead be risen?
What you said?
All the dead would be risen.
Oh, no, I mean, again, I mean, it's not gonna be a secret thing, right? Bill Mound says, Jesus' return must take place suddenly, visibly, personally, and physically,
Right.
right? Jesus' return must take place suddenly, visibly, personally, and
And that sums up what it says.
Yeah.
You know, all eyes will see
yeah.
in the sky. Like,
What does it mean by personally?
you'll be able to see it yourself, every person,
You
no matter
will
where they are.
know. If you will know, right? Yeah, so moreover, if you believe in this view, you would have to accept that there is no future for you in Christ.
Right.
And what does Paul say in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 19? If only for this life we have hope in Christ, we of all people must be pitied.
This is a very negative view. How can people live with this view and not without
Great
hope?
theologians have believed
But
that.
without hope.
Then why do they even bother being Christians?
Yeah,
It's like,
Well, doesn't
what's
it
the
say
point?
it's too late for you,
Yeah.
so why would
Because
you?
this view says like everything has happened.
Yeah.
Has already happened. So like, because doesn't it say in Revelation that like after the rapture happens, like you still become a Christian and then like.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
That might be some of the things you watch on Left Behind. We'll talk about that. Yeah.
So
Guys, gotta let it finish.
Go
they
ahead.
say full preterists, like they believe everything is happening.
Oh, it has been fulfilled.
But
Does that mean
partial.
they also believe that the New Jerusalem is somewhere, and we're just not there, or we are
Or
there?
we are there.
Well, if we're living in a millennium, that means we might.
Yeah.
I don't know everything about it.
Okay.
But if we're living in a millennium, Jerusalem, right?
This is the New Jerusalem.
All right. Second view. So so after this, so that this was very sudden for them, because the book was written around 65, 66, and by 70 everything has been fulfilled. So after this was very sudden. That only took a couple of years.
Right.
All right? Okay, there's this view, the church historical school. Right? The historicist view says all of the events from chapter 4, 1 to the end of the book refers to different historical events throughout the history of the world. Okay? Meaning they spread the book of Revelation out over 2,000 years, period. The reason I say 2,000 because they're still spreading it right now to our time, right? Meaning the rise of Russia, they're going to find something in Revelation to tell you that's what John meant, right?
These are the ones you see at 2 a.m. on TV.
So these are the ones that are just picking and choosing certain catastrophes and saying,
Yeah.
that's it.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Right. So for instance, when you tell me, when you told me, yeah, that's a revelation, right? Because a lot of people have questions because of what's happening.
Yeah.
That's
It
more
was
of
the-
a,
yeah.
that's more of a historical church historical view.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Everything that happens.
Sequence, yeah.
In fact, I haven't checked that myself, but I was listening to Robert Stein. Robert Stein said there was a guy who wrote a book on Revelation during the Gulf War. The book published today, and tomorrow the Gulf War ended. And his entire book was about how the Gulf War was was like gonna be the last battle, the Armageddon. So the book was taking off the shelf
Yeah.
the next day.
Oh, my God.
Okay? So again, that's that view, the historicist view, right? Everything. Something might tell you for sure, someone might tell you for sure that they know who God Magog is. All right, in Revelation. Actually, they're not just in Revelation. You'll find them in the Old Testament too, right? Most people will tell you Iraq and Iran is God Magog, right? Revelation chapter. Do I have that? Can somebody look at Revelation chapter 20, verse 7 and 8?
7 and 8.
Yeah, 7, 8. And I've read it, I've seen it, I've heard it.
Now, when
People
the
say-
1,000 years have expired, Satan will be released from his prison and will go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, whose number is as the sand of the sea.
Thank you. So some people will tell you that Gog and Magog, because that's the view of the historicists, were all Iran and Iraq, okay? So what is the major weakness of this position? Is that they all disagree with each other. You find historicists, they don't disagree on everything. They will find things they disagree on.
They just said in that verse that the ark that was the four corners of the earth.
Yeah,
Iraq and Iran are next to each other.
Right.
And they're pretty tiny compared to
Yeah.
everybody else.
I don't know.
okay? So,
But I heard China, because they have a large
Yeah,
army.
Russia.
yeah, you might find a historicist that says it's China. But what I'm saying is the major ones will be Iran. Again, especially when you're an American theologian, right? So it's going to be Iraq and Iran who are God about God, right?
Right.
Yeah.
We couldn't possibly do that one.
No, never. Would we? Nobody. No. If you ask him if you ask him what symbol the Pale Riders stand for, one would say World War I, the other might say the Korean War, but they never agree with one another. That's the major weakness of that view, right? God's calling me over.
Is it the rapture?
Yes, rapture.
That's how he's gonna reach us all. That's how we'll all know. They call us on our cell phones.
I heard the heat come on, and it was like a rumbling, and I was like,
Of course.
war begun?
The sound of thunder.
All right, the third view, the futurist view. And that's the view that most church members believe. Okay? The futurist view says all the events from chapter 4 to 1 to the end of the book refers to the future.
None of the events, okay, wow.
Yeah, all of them refers to the future. Everything from there is in the future. None of the events after chapter 4, verse 1 applies to John's original audience. I never heard anybody preach when I was in church growing up that talks about after they pass chapter 3. Everything is in the future. Right? Everything is in the future. Right? There's a huge time in the futurist view, there's a huge time gap. Right? All of the events refers to the future. So it's because of that view, that's where the conversation begins with pre-tribulation. Are you pre-trib? Are you mid-trib? Or are you post-trib? Right? And because of that, that is where someone believes that the rapture takes place. Most people believe that's where the rapture takes place, right? After chapter 4, verse 9. Right? From here on, What God is doing is working with the Jewish nation to save the 144,000. That is what God is doing, right? So the weakness of this position is that it takes revelation, it makes revelation irrelevant to John's audience. Because if it's only the future, then why write it to them?
They'd be gone in the raptures, right?
Well, it's to encourage them in their current conditions.
Yeah, it's to encourage them in their current position. But if we're saying that chapter 4 and to the end, to chapter 20 has
Has
nothing
nothing
to
to
do
do
with it.
with them, then why would he have sent it to them?
Why would he write them the letter? Right?
And you also did say it's bad and it's gonna get worse.
Get worse, right? Yeah.
You did say that as well.
Yeah. So I find it impossible to address a book to an audience for which the major message of the book has no relevance to them. It has to have some relevance to them, right? So that's the major weakness of that view. The last view is the idealist view. The idealist view is that the events of Revelation were not tied to specific historical events. The imagery of the book symbolically presents the ongoing struggle throughout the ages of God against Satan and good against evil. That means has nothing to do with history. It's a spiritual thing. Right? The idealist is also called the spiritualist as well. Right? It's a spiritual thing. It's just talking about spiritual thing. It has nothing to do with history. It has nothing to do with that. Okay? So now you have to ask yourself, which view do I pick? Or should I say, choose from each of them a little and say, hey, this is my view after I've read it.
The problem.
None of these four seem exactly right.
Huh?
None of these four, just the way they are, seem at this point, I know we haven't studied it yet,
Yeah.
but it seems like there's a major problem with each and every one of
You
them.
mean uniquely or at all? Because he said it's things that have happened, things that are now, and things that come. Right?
Yeah.
So it seems to have to be a combination.
A combination.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's a combination. So my view, so far, as a novice, okay, says a lot of prophecies in the Revelations are already fulfilled, right? By the time the judge orders, but there are still many of the prophecies in Revelation, from chapter 4 to the end, to take place today and in the future. Okay? There's a lot that when Revelation talk about a city on 7 hills, I didn't confirm that yet, but according to a lot of scholars that I respect, that's Rome. That's the Roman Empire, right? According to them, they are the city on 7 hills. Okay, that was built on 7 hills, right? So, and then we do, they're all spiritual things, but they are also historical, there are some historical things as well. Some things that happened in history that was, just like the book of Daniel. There's a lot of things that are predicted in the book of Daniel that has already happened, right? So that's how you deal with apocalyptic book. I will leave it there for that. Remember, I'm doing this with fear and trembling.
You gonna give us some examples of that at some point?
Of what?
Like things in history that you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll go into details.
I'm interested.
I
That's
have
very
much
interesting.
reading to do. Yeah. All right. The third things we talked about was the 3 sevens. Talk about the 7 seals, the 7 trumpets, and the 7 bowls. You got to figure out what's the relationship between these 3 events. Okay? Are they consecutive or cyclical? Are they consecutive, meaning
One after the next.
one after the other? Like John is talking about 21 events in a linear fashion? Or if it's cyclical, John is talking about one event in circular fashion. Now, what I'm saying is that the 7 seals, he repeats it again in the 7th trumpet, and he repeats it again in the 7th bowl.
What about concurrent?
He's retelling it. Well, concurrently means happening at the same time,
Yeah.
right? But I'm just saying it's the same story that is being retold, right? And we have some places in the Bible where that happens.
Yes.
See what's
Jesus will tell a parable and he'll tell it 3 different times.
That's
and
true.
it means the same thing, but he tells it 3 different ways.
Well, they're like the loss of the coin, the loss of the sheep, and the loss of the son,
Yeah.
right? All he's trying to say what? Sinners matter to God. Sinners matter to God. If you lose your sheep, wouldn't you go after it? Okay, maybe you don't have sheep. How about a woman? Coin. Would you go after it? Oh, maybe that you don't care about that. How about a son? Right? So he does that. But no, that is true. But one of the places that we see that is in Genesis. The story is told in Genesis chapter 1, but it's told in a different way in Genesis chapter 2. And I heard a fool on YouTube, yeah, sorry to say that, saying that that's why the Bible is wrong. Because it repeats the story. It was a bunch of stuff. I was like, forget you, man. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. Right? But the Bible's just retelling it in a different way. Right? So what he's trying to say is that the story is wrong because it is not said the same way. Right? It's said differently. Well, yeah. But again, that's what makes it right, especially the gospel. I've had people who told me that in the years past. Well, how come this person saw 2 angels and the other one said I saw 1 angel? How come this person said I saw Jesus? Right?
Oh, yeah.
But that's what tells you that it was not fabricated. If it was fabricated, everybody would get together and say, let's tell the same story,
In
the
fact,
same way.
In crime investigation, they specifically want to see that the witnesses have a slightly different, because everyone's going to have a slightly different version. And if everybody's is exactly the same, they automatically know they're lying.
Something happened, right? Oh, it's the same thing too. When you watch a ball game, if I ask everybody to explain it, everybody will have something to talk about. It may not be the same, right? They might focus on something else. And the worst, if your team loses and your team wins, have those people
Well, you
explain.
have a really different
Yeah,
idea of what happened.
explain what happened last night.
Last night, the refs
Did you just go to
interfered.
that
That's what
last
happened
Huh?
last night.
That is good. No, I saw the writing on the wall. Writing was on the wall. Ah, all right.
The Bruins lost
So yeah, oh, the Bruins lost.
last night.
Not
They
the
were
series.
3 games to 1.
Not the series.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, I was doing Bible study yesterday. I couldn't watch it.
They were supposed to eliminate them yesterday.
So what's the relationship between these 3 events? Are they consecutive or cyclical? So the 7 seals, we doing bad with time. The 7 seals start in Revelation chapter 6 to chapter 17. I'm
No,
just not made a
6.
mistake.
1 to 7.
Oh,
6.
oh, 6, 1 to
1 to
17. Okay. Maybe we should look at it real quickly. I'm doing bad with time. By the way, you guys stole 10 minutes of mine. You gotta get back.
Maybe we stole.
All right, let's go. Somebody read for me quickly. I just want you to see. What's that?
1 to 17, right?
1 to 17. I'm hungry now. Hear me?
It says, I watched as the Lamb opened the first of the 7 seals. Then I heard one of the 4 living creatures say in a voice like thunder, "Come." I looked, and there before me was a white horse. Its rider held a bow, and he was given a crown, and he rode out as a conqueror bent on conquest. When the Lamb opened the 2nd seal, I heard the 2nd living creature say, "Come." Then another horse came out, a fiery red one. Its rider was given power to take peace from the earth and to make people kill each other. To him was given a large sword. When the Lamb opened the 3rd seal, I heard the 3rd living creature say, "Come." I looked, and there before me was a black horse. Its rider was holding a pair of scales in his hand. Then I heard what sounded like a voice among the 4 living creatures saying, 2 pounds of wheat for a day's wages, and 6 pounds of barley for a day's wages, and do not damage the oil or the wine. When the Lamb opened the 4th seal, I heard the voice of the 4th living creature say, "Come." I looked, and there before me was a pale horse. Its rider was named Death, and Hades was following close behind him. They were given power over a 4th of the earth, killed by sword, famine, and plague, and by the wild beasts of the earth. When he opened the 5th seal, I saw under the altar the souls of those who had
Stop for a second again. Real quickly, if you're not paying attention. The first 4 seals are happening on earth,
Right.
but the 5th one is in heaven. Okay, so I just wanted to say that. The 5th one is in heaven. Good.
When he opened the 5th seal, I saw under the altar the souls of those who had been slain because of the word of God and the testimony they had maintained. They called out in a loud voice, "How long, sovereign Lord, holy and true, until you judge the inhabitants of the earth and avenge our blood?" Then each of them was given a white robe, and they were told to wait a little longer until the full number of their fellow servants, their brothers and sisters, were killed just as they had been. I watched as he opened the 6th seal. There was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth made of goat hair. The whole moon turned blood red, and the stars in the sky fell to earth, as figs drop from a fig tree when shaken by a strong wind. The heavens receded like a scroll being rolled up, and every mountain and island was removed from its place. Then the kings of the earth, the princes, the generals, the rich, the mighty, and everyone else, both slave and free, hid in caves and among the rocks of the mountains. They called to the mountains and the rocks, "Fall on us and hide us, for the face of him who sits on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of their wrath has come, and who can withstand it?"
So that's the 6th seal. Right? You got to the 6th seal. Now let's quickly go to the 7th seal and see something. No, so it took a pause right here, right? It stopped talking about the seal, right? In chapter 7, all the way, right? It's not talking about it. Let's go to chapter 8. So now, okay, read chapter 8. You can read, let's start.
When he opened the 7th seal, there was a silence in heaven for about half an hour.
Stop.
That's
He tells
how you know
a
there's-
joke.
That's how you know there's no women in heaven.
There's silence for half an hour.
And I saw the 7 angels who stand before God, and 7 trumpets were given to them. Another angel, who had a golden censer.
Wait, stop right here. What do you see happen here? So I was reading it, I'm like, I know, wow. The 7th seal is open, right? But he's saying the 7th trumpet is the 7th seal. Because when he opened the 7th seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. And as for the 7 angels who stand before God, and 7 trumpets were given to them. And then he's going to talk about the 7 trumpets.
Oh.
So nothing really happened in the 7th seal, but what's going to happen in the 7 trumpets. You don't see that?
Besides, it is the 7 trumpets.
7
Seal.
trumpets.
The 7th seal.
Is the 7th trumpet.
7 trumpets.
Trumpets.
Seal.
Is the 7th seal. The 7th.
So that's what you're talking about, the continuation part.
Yeah, I'm saying that, first of all, that would not say that's a new story given, because what happened in the 7th seal? We see the other one, the calamities that happened. We saw in the 5th one, I think, where the soul of, those were, and we saw the 6th one, but now when we get to the 7th one, what did he see? 7 angels who stand before God and 7 trumpet where,
Why do you skip over that there were signs in heaven for about half?
well, there was sign, but it's not finished. It's not saying anything happened. It's telling you, and by the way, there's no silence in heaven. It's 30 seconds. There's no time in heaven. But to him, it seems like.
But isn't that significant because what's supposed to be happening in heaven? Something's supposed to be happening.
But that's not the significant point. The significant point is what's going to happen. Because for every one of them, something happens.
So you don't think that silence in heaven for what he perceived as half an hour is significant, noteworthy?
Do you think that's more significant than this?
I think it's noteworthy that if heaven is not supposed to be a silent place.
Okay. Well, you said this.
When we went back earlier talking about heaven,
Well,
you have the worship, you have the
we can't say that heaven is not supposed to be a silent place. We don't.
Except when it says, they never stop saying holy,
Yeah,
holy.
you said that earlier.
It says they never stop
There's
saying.
worship, there's adoration.
Well, this is all written from John's point of view, isn't it? Maybe John just couldn't hear anything. No one's to say that there actually was silence. All it says is
There was silence.
for about half an hour. If there's no time in heaven, how
It
would
doesn't say I couldn't hear anything for 30 minutes.
Yeah, but if this is
No,
all
no, 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 no.
John's writing all of this.
Come back to me. Go ahead. Finish what you're
Can I
saying, then I'll go
just
back
say
to it.
something for
Yeah.
what I'm seeing?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so, and he saw the 7 angels who stood before God, right? Who stand before God, and the 7 trumpets were given to them. Earlier, we talked about the trumpets, right? Being an announcement. So if there was silence in heaven, more, not silence, but it says silence for the sake of what was written. I'm just
Yeah.
my head. If there was silence and there's an announcement about to be made, which is what was given to the 7 angels, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in my idea of what I'm reading, there has to be something important about to take place.
Yes.
Yes.
Every single one of
Because
them.
the angels have the trumpet,
Let's go
which
to this.
signifies announcement. When a king is entering the kingdom, with the sound of the trumpet, there's silence. Other than the trumpet, if you watch all the movies, I'll watch the trumpets and kings, yeah.
Okay.
Are the 7 angels that are given the 7 trumpets the same?
Pastors.
Are they the
Yes.
pastors of the
Each
7
does do
churches?
something. No.
So different 7 angels than the 7
I'm not
angels.
going to say the 7 angels of the church are the pastors of the
Yes.
church. That's a physical thing.
Right, but these don't represent those same people.
No.
No, there's not a
They're
single
not
pastor.
angels.
Okay, so sometimes angels are angels and sometimes angels are.
You can't live, and the angels cannot live.
Right,
They don't have the corporal body to do so.
right,
So they have to take the body of form.
Well,
right.
Just like heaven,
Right.
Jesus had to transform as well.
So the angels had
Right?
7 trumpets, but
Yeah.
another
Doesn't it say like, I don't know, I might be,
Go ahead.
I might be fabricating this, but, I thought there was a verse somewhere that said like, be like kind of respectful, because
You might be entertaining angels.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
What? I missed that.
No, it's saying there's a verse in the Bible that says,
So-
be careful how you treat people because you never know, you might be entertaining angels.
so,
Yes.
There are also some-
this is,
Yeah.
how does that
Silence.
work if they can't live on earth?
I want
No. I said they have to take.
The form of.
So you see how the Bible says the Holy Spirit came down on Jesus
This isn't a very good.
like a dove, like manifested in the body of a dove, right? Yes. So what I'm saying is that
Without man.
just like we, our body cannot be in heaven. Just like we in human, when people go in the moon, on the moon, they have to have a different body, like the suit, because your body is not made so.
The angels themselves
There it
can't
is.
really have to. like,
Habakkuk,
go
it is.
to-
Habakkuk
manifest
20.
something.
They look
I'm
human.
not saying all the time. I'll explain that too, but that's totally different.
If you didn't think the study of Revelation was going to get sidetracked.
Yes.
Now
Okay?
we gotta find
Um,
out. There is.
What I'm saying to you is, I don't find that as significant as this. He's just saying what he felt,
Milwaukee.
what he saw. But I think that's more important than this.
There it is.
Okay, so that's what I'm
Two
saying.
twenty. There is a verse about silence.
Okay?
Oh, you could do that one. Was it 220? I knew I'd seen one before. But the Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the
Let all
earth be
earth be
silent
silent.
before him.
But I said, yeah, this is not good.
There's a silence.
Yeah.
But reverence, silence before him implies reverence. Like,
You can say that, yeah. Yeah. Or when the Bible says let your word be few, it doesn't mean don't pray a lot. Right? Just saying be purposeful about that. All right, I don't have a lot of time. Oh, I don't have time. All right, so the first angel sounded his trumpet, and then came a hell. Right? But I'm saying to you that the seven, to me at least, this is what I'm saying when I read it, that the seven seal goes right into the seven trumpets. So the first angel sounded his trumpet, right? And the third of the earth was burned. The second angel sounded his trumpet. The third angel sounded his trumpet. The fourth angel again and again, right? So, when I get to it, what I want to show you is, at the end of every one of them, you're thinking, everything is done. Christ conquered. Because now we have people in heaven and all. And it starts all over again. Right? And with the bowl, it's going to talk about the birth of Jesus Christ. And you're like, oh, what am I doing going way back to the birth of Jesus Christ? Right? When we're already having people in heaven. Right? So if it was a sequence, I don't think you could do that. I think it has to be cycles, a cycle. Right? Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
does that mean there's gonna be symbolism between each of the seven trumpets back to a seventh seal?
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of symbolism.
But what I mean is, remember when you told us the story of creation?
Mhm.
And you had it side by side.
Yeah.
Day one equaled this, day two equaled six,
Yeah.
day, right? And
Yes.
so, is that sort of what's?
I'm gonna know this. I'm trying my best. I don't know if I can do that yet. Yes, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, were you saying that it happened consecutively
Sarcastic,
or
I'm thinking
precisely
something.
you said that?
Yeah, yeah.
Cyclically.
Thinking of all these people that talk about destroying the earth.
Okay,
Satan.
so let me run to the last one. So we talk the last one is, what is the purpose, the central theme of the book, right? So we talk about the imagery. Should we take them symbolically or literally? And what those literally should mean for us in the book of Revelation.
Symbolic.
We talk about what else we talk about after this, right? And we talk about the 3 sevens. Now we talk about the central message of the book, the central theme of the book. Okay? Is the book of Revelation designed to give us tons of detailed information about the ends of time? Or was it designed to comfort those who believe in Christ regarding their suffering and mistreatment? Right? Because what happened is, most people focus on trying to understand every little details and they forget the big picture. So now when you get to chapter 21, even after all these things happen, the book goes back to its original purpose. Because the entire book, the entire Revelation chapter 21 and 22 is doing exactly, is telling you what the purpose of the book is. Okay? So he's telling them, Christ win, right? So after the seven bowl, Christ win. Then I saw a new heaven. That's giving them hope, right? Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. And he's telling them what they are. I see a new Jerusalem, the bride of the Lamb. And down there he's explaining, he's giving them details of the things he sees, right? And 22. All right, let's try to read this as fast as we can. Herman, could you read this for us?
Starting from where?
I'll start from the beginning. Let's read the entire chapter. We'll end there.
22.
22, yeah.
Slide over a little bit. Then the angel showed me the river of the water of life, as clear as crystal, flowing from the throne of God and of the Lamb, down the middle of the great street of the city. On each side of the river stood the tree of life, bearing 12 crops of fruit, yielding its fruit every month, and the leaves of the tree are for the healing of the nations. No longer will there be any curse.
So as you go on, again, you see the encouragement, right? No, when this happened to you, if you hold on, no longer there'll be that.
The throne of God and of the Lamb will be in the city, and his servants will serve him. They will see his face, and his name will be on their foreheads. There will be no more night. They will not need the light of a lamp or the light of the sun, for the Lord God will give them light. And they will reign forever and ever. The angel said to me, these words are trustworthy and true. The Lord, the God,
These words are trustworthy and true. I'm telling you no lie. I'm not trying to, give you false hope. These words are trustworthy and true. Yeah.
the Lord, the God who inspires the prophets, sent his angel to show his servants the things that must soon take place. Look, I am coming soon. Blessed is the one who keeps the words of the prophecy written in this scroll. I, John, am the one who heard and saw these things. And when I had heard and seen them, I fell down to worship at the feet of the angel who had been showing them to me. But he said to me, don't do that. I am a fellow servant with you, with your fellow prophets, and all who keep the words of this scroll. Worship God. Then he told me, do not seal up the words of the prophecy of this scroll, because the time is near. Let the one who does wrong continue to do wrong. Let the vile person continue to be vile. Let the one who does right continue to be right. And let the holy person continue to be holy.
So you see what he's doing here, right? You get, I don't have a lot of time, but you see what he's doing. I hope I have the chance. He's telling, first of all, he said, do not seal. So again, the book of Revelation is not hiding anything. It's supposed to be revealing everything. So it's a book we must understand. We have to understand it, right? And then he's giving a message. Let the person who's doing wrong continue to do wrong. Let the vile person continue to be vile. Let the one who, but you're not that. Let the one who does right continue to do right. And let the holy person continue to be holy. Don't give up. Don't lose faith, right? Go ahead.
Look, I am coming soon. My reward is with me, and I will give to each person according to what they have done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. Blessed are those who wash their robes, that they may have the right to the tree of life, and may go through the gates into the holy city. Outside of the dogs, those who practice magic arts, sexually immoral, murderers, the idolaters, and everyone who loves and practices falsehood. I, Jesus, have sent my angel to give you this testimony for the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David, and the bright morning star. The Spirit and the bride say, come. Let the one who hears say, come. Let the one who is thirsty come. Let the one who wishes take the free gift of the water of life. I warn everyone who hears the words of the prophecy of the scroll. If anyone adds anything to them, God will add to that person the plagues described in the scroll. And if anyone takes words away from the scroll of prophecy, God will take away from that person any share in the tree of life and in the holy city, which are described in the scroll. He who testifies to these things says, yes, I am coming soon. Amen. Come, Lord Jesus. The grace of the Lord be with us.
as you study a book, the number one thing is to find the purpose of the book. Right? In the book of John, John says Jesus has done many things. Right? In the Gospel of John. I'm not going to have time to tell you all these, but I'm going to choose. Can't really remember the number. How many miracles of Jesus? Can't remember right now. I can't remember right now. Right? But he tells you exactly. And then he says, when I'm done telling you those miracles that Jesus has done, you will know that he is the Son of God. Right? He is God, the Son of the living God. Right? So that's the purpose of the book. If you miss the purpose, you miss everything. What am I saying? Is when you're reading the book of Revelation, start by looking at the purpose of the book. The purpose of the book is what? To encourage suffering saints to hold on to their faith, because Christ has already conquered the war. And if you hold on, you will rejoice with him when he comes. And he said he's coming soon. I'm glad these guys heard this. They were happy. But they didn't know that soon was going to be a little while. For us, right? Going to be a little while, right? And secondly, the symbols should not be taken literally. Not all of them. Maybe some. But I know for most, 90-something% of them should be taken symbolically. Right? And let's look at the sevens so we could really see if it's true what we said, right? And then what view you're gonna take for this after this, right? I thought that is the best way I could present it, so that when we start teaching it, you could start looking for those 4 things and to try to make sense of what you're reading. And I hope that out of all the time you've heard somebody speak of Revelation, that you learned something today that will serve you in the future. Amen? One question, if there is a statement or remark, right?
When he says, when he's talking about like taking away or adding to the words of the scroll, does he just mean the scroll, like what we talked about in Revelation, or does he mean the whole Bible? I know that there's a verse that says
Yes.
not to do that.
Right now, it's talking specifically about the Bible. But throughout the Bible, we know that not one iota Jesus said should be able to take away from this book, right? Even in the Old Testament, right? Yeah, the Word of God will remain when everything else passes away, right? And if you take away from it, of course you cannot take away from it. It's just saying that you're not teaching it, you purpose
Leaving stuff out. or-
leaving stuff out and misinterpreting the Word of God purposely, even though you know, right? Yeah, that's what it's talking